If you thought that Glendios was a disappointment, then you probably haven't seen the new Epic Buster. But, disappointments aside, we got more support for Dual Knights, which is honestly very solid. And we got a new boss unit for Kagero, which on first glance looks very underwhelming, but once you dissect what the card has to offer, there's actually a lot of very interesting and fun things you can do with it.
Stand up! Vanguard!
Hey Cardfighters, welcome back to another Cardfight update, and again we're gonna talk about some reveals that happened a couple of days ago, and in some cases maybe a week or two, but we haven't talked about it on this channel, so that's what we're gonna do today. And this time on the chopping block is the last card for Kagero, Nova Grappler, and the new support wave for Dual Knights for Royal Paladin. So let's first take a look at the new boss unit for Kagero, which is this Grade 3 Dragon Monk Goku. And Goku has the effect: act on Vanguard Circle once a turn, cost counterblast 1, and discard a Grade 3 card from your hand. And this unit gets drive +1 until the end of turn. So essentially it gets triple drive for the sacrifice of a card, so you're not plussing, it's essentially a cycle, but as soon as you're discarding a Grade 3, that's actually not that terrible as it doesn't have any shield value. You do sacrifice a potential force marker, but in certain instances that doesn't really matter all too much. Now, the reason why we want to add an extra drive check is because of Goku's second effect, which is Auto Vanguard Circle. At the end of the battle this unit attacked, cost counterblast 1, perform all of the following according to the grades of the normal units revealed for the drive check of that battle. Very important, it specifies normal units, so you Guardians, although being Grade 3s, won't synergize with this skill. Grade 3, choose 2 of your opponent's rearguards and retire them. Grade 2, choose one of your rearguards and stand it. Grade 1, choose one of your rearguards and it gets power plus 10k until the end of turn. So essentially you want to drive check normal units to activate as many skills of this in one go. So with your triple drive, if you hit a Grade 1, Grade 2, Grade 3, that's the ideal outcome as you get a lot of value. An extra rearguard attack, you empower one of your rearguards and you pop 2 units off your opponent's field, which honestly isn't terrible for a counterblast. Now the only downside is that it's completely RNG, you have no control. The extra drive check does help on it because you increase the consistency of hitting different grades, but sadly you cannot determine and guaranteed value of it. Luckily you can pay the counterblast after the drive check happens, so if the drive checks weren't that great, you can opt to not pay the counterblast cost if it doesn't get you the value that you want to get from it. In terms of game plan, this essentially tells us a bit that we want to play a bit more Grade 3, so we get the extra drive check, because that's the ideal thing. And there are a couple of options within Kagero to play a lot of Grade 3s, because in the last couple of clan collections we have a lot of new boss units, which some can also work as rearguards, like Blazing Flare for example, which can synergize with this. Aleph can also be a potential side boss unit for Goku, as you can go with Aleph and then Goku, depending on which direction you want to take, you can go into either one. Now, the thing that I really like about this is that this can actually synergize really well with an older rearguard Grade 3 for Kagero, which is Lava Blast Dragon. This Grade 3 allows you to restand itself on the rearguard circle and gain additional 15k power if you shove in a Grade 1 and Grade 2 soul. And the Grade 1 can search out the Grade 3, so you can search out that particular Grade 3 more consistently. Which means you can have a rearguard that resets itself so you can have 4 attack. And with Goku, you can potentially add 5 attacks on top of it, and you can add more power on that Grade 3 with the potential extra 10k power. Now that's one aspect of Goku. We can add another flavor on top of this, and that's if we combine this with Dauntless Drive Dragon, because we can go into Dauntless Drive Dragon and then next turn go into Goku to give Goku the restand capabilities. And yes, Dauntless Drive Dragon forces you to discard 3 cards, but it doesn't minus on your drive checks. And with Goku being able to get triple drive, that now means you don't minus on the restand of Dauntless Drive Dragon in combination with Goku. Actually, you're going to plus of it. And you get 6 drive checks, which means you're going to at least guarantee some value of the skills of Goku. Add the synergy with Dauntless Drive other effect that if you hit 2 non-triggers to get 10k power to your rearguard, that becomes even better with Goku, because with 3 drive checks you can actually hit triggers and still get the extra 10k power because you can hit a trigger and 2 non-triggers that still procs the effect of Dauntless Drive. So that is a very interesting synergy that works very well together. So I think Dauntless Drive plus Goku plus this potential restanding rearguard grade 3 can add a lot of flair for Kagero as a potential budget build. So yeah, even though Goku on first glance looks very underwhelming, I think there's a lot of interesting builds you could do with Goku that might not be top tier, but a hell of a lot fun to play. Also, talking about Dauntless Drive Dragon, the reason why I say it's budget alternative is because for the last reprint for Kagero that has been confirmed, it is of course Dauntless Drive Dragon. So very happy days. It's an amazing card for Kagero that synergizes with any other boss unit, and especially well with potentially Overlord or Rebirth as well as Goku. So I'm happy that this is going to be a new include in this reprint slots as well. Now moving on to the Nova Grappler card, we've got the final card for Nova Grappler, which this case is Strongest BSDT Ethics Buster Extreme. And this Epic Buster has the following effects. Auto and Vanguard Circle. When your unit with BSDT in its card name stand by card's ability, if BSD, the Epic Buster, is in your soul, this unit gets power plus 5k until the end of turn. That's not once per turn, so every time something resends, he becomes stronger and stronger and stronger. This synergizes with the unride effect if you ride this on top of Epic Buster, because then you can immediately use the unride skill to resend something as to attack, so that can potentially activate the skill right at the get-go. Now, keep in mind, during the ride phase itself, you don't necessarily resend something, so it doesn't get the power out, but if you have like something like a Brutal Jack, that can resend to get the extra power, but you most likely want to resend your Vanguard so you can immediately attack with the Vanguard. So it depends a bit on the scenario, but this could definitely get a lot of power in the right circumstances, but you're gonna be very key piece reliant. Now for the second skill of Epic Buster Extreme, we got Auto Vanguard Circle. Once a turn, when your drive check reveals a card with BSDT in its card name, cost, count to plus 1, and discard a card from your hand. Choose one of your rearguards with BSDT in its card name that is of the same grade as the card with BSDT in its card name revealed by the drive check, and stand it. If your damage on has 4 more cards, stand all of your units with BSDT in their card names that are the same grade as the unit stand with this effect. So yes, this can be a massive resend effect, but honestly, I do not like this effect at all because it doesn't really synergize all too greatly with Epic Buster. Because the issue is that if you write this on top of Epic Buster, you're gonna attack with your Vanguard with drive checks. The issue is that everything is already standing, so you're not gonna activate this skill on that first attack. And if you, I believe, hit, you lose a drive check, or not hit, it stands, and a hit, you lose a drive check. I think that's the right wording here. So that means you can potentially go into your battle phase with a Vanguard with a single drive check. And that means that single drive check is gonna matter a lot, because depending on what you drive check, that depends the value. And that's very inconsistent, and on top of that, unlike Goku, where if you hit a grade 2, you can restand anything, this specifically needs to hit a specific grade to restand the same card with the same grade. So if you have mainly grade 3s and you hit a grade 1, well, tough out of luck, you're not gonna restand anything that's gonna matter. Now, yes, you can most likely gonna restand 1 because you have like restanders and attackers in all across the grades ratio for BSDT. So you're gonna probably restand at least 1 thing, but you're not going to get the value of having 4 damage and restand like your entire board that we've seen like on other cards. Like, for example, what we saw with Aquaforce or Narukami. Like, this effect is very underwhelming in terms of multi-tech generation. While we're talking about Nova Grappler, the deck about multi-attacking and resetting your rearguard. So this feels very underwhelming, especially coming out of the back foot of the reverse as well as normal Epic Buster. Like, I feel like currently the Epic Buster cards can catch a break. They all feel like very clunky, very underwhelming in comparison to what the other BSDT did before it and how the engine worked. Also, in terms of reprint, it's very predictable. The final reprint for Nova Grappler is Epic Buster himself. Now, luckily, even though these cards are a bit underwhelming, we got Ashura Kaiser, and Ashura Kaiser is looking mighty spicy. Now that brings us to the Jewel Knight package for Royal Paladin. So let's take a look at these new cards and what this will mean for the Jewel Knight archetype. So first up, we got a brand new grade 1, which is Security Jewel Knight Elwayne. And Elwayne has the effect Auto Rearguard Circle, cost, rest this unit, and put a normal unit from your drop on the bottom of your deck, soul charge 1, choose one of your Vanguards with Dual Knights in their card name and it gets power plus 5k until the end of turn. This is a great skill, it's more soul charging, it generates more power, and it puts more cards back into the deck. Everything that we need for Dual Knight archetype, so this is already really great. Yes, it needs to rest itself, so you're gonna lose a bit of pressure, but honestly, it's not really that bad, and in combination with the new Reverse Ashlei, it's actually honestly amazing. Now, on top of that, we also got the typical Dual Knight Break Ride effect, as we got Auto Vanguard the Rearguard Circle. When your auto unit is placed on this unit circle, look at the top 2 cards of your deck, choose up to 1 card with Dual Knight from among them, reveal it, and put it in your hand, and put the rest on the bottom of your deck in any order. This honestly is, in my opinion, an upgrade from the original Grade 1 for Dual Knight that just blindly draws you a card, because this searches more something. Like, you can check top 2 and add the best card among them. Yes, if you only hit triggers, that's a bit underwhelming because you don't plus off it, but in a lot of situations that won't happen. And in the case of triggers, you can filter your deck for triggers now. Yes, you need to put them on the bottom of your deck, but you have like searchers and you can like go fast through your deck with this engine. So I think it's completely fine and overall a really good Grade 1. Now, in terms of the new Grade 2, we've got Bending Dual Knight Miranda. And Miranda has the effect Auto Rearguard Circle. When this unit attacks, while not boosted, if you have a Vanguard with Dual Knight in the card name, cost Counterblast 1, choose one of your Vanguards and until the end of the battle, increase or decrease this unit's power to match that unit's power. So this synergizes with the Grade 1 because we rest the Grade 1, give our Vanguard extra 5k power, and now that we cannot boost it because we rested our Grade 1, this card's effect can activate, and because our Vanguard got extra power, that means this card will also attain a lot more power. So that's where the synergy already comes into play, and that's not even talking about Ashlei Reverse. So that's already a pretty decent skill. Now overall, I'm not really keen of Counterblast power skills that you use Counterblast to just gain power, but with this particular card, it's a different story because you can gain a whole buttload of power, but also of its second effect, which is Auto Vanguard the Rearguard Circle. When your auto unit is placed on this unit circle, Soul Charge 1, which already is good, and if you have no face-up cards in your damage zone, Counter Charge 1. Counter Charge is very important for Dual Knight because all the powerful skills use Counterblast, but now we have a card that can force out Counter Charging. And in a situation where you have like too many Counterblast face up and you're gonna call on top of this and you don't want to lose value of the potential countercharge value, then you can use her skill to forcefully get that last Counterblast face down to then immediately refund the cost so you gain her power essentially for free. And that's the reason why I don't mind her first skill, because you can essentially get it for free. Of course, it's insane in combination with the new Ashlei Reverse, but you will see that right about now. Because the brand new Reverse unit is, of course, Broken Heart Dual Knight Ashlei Reverse. And Ashlei Reverse has the following effects: act on Vanguard Circle, cost, Soulless 2, and lock one of your rearguards. Choose one of your opponent's front row rearguards, retire it, look at top 4 cards of your deck, choose up to 1 card with Dual Knights in its card name from among them, call to the rearguard circle, and put the rest on the bottom of your deck in any order. So this is what I meant where the synergy comes with the Grade 1, because you can rest the Grade 1, get the value, and now lock that Grade 1 to get more value out of that particular card. And this is what I like about Ashlei, is that the fact you can build a field out essentially nothing. Because you can soul this one, lock 1 card you have, then check the top 5, get a new Dual Knight on the field, and you can do the skill again, because it's not once per turn. So you can then again Soulless 2, lock that new card, lock that newly placed card into the field, and then check again top 4 and call another card. And you can do that again essentially if you have more soul. So you can lock a bunch load of cards and still not lose out on cards if you didn't have a field to begin with. And you might think to yourself, why do you want to keep locking more cards, as it doesn't really generate more value, except potentially sniping more of your opponent's rearguards, but is that really worth it? Well, that's where your second skill of Ashlei comes into play, because Ashlei's second skill is Auto Vanguard Circle. When this unit attacks, if you have 2 or more locked cards, so this is the reason why you want to potentially do it more, cost, Counterblast 1, search your deck for up to 2 Grade 2 or lower cards with Dual Knight in their card names, call them to the rearguard circle, shuffle your deck, and for each of your locked cards, this unit gets power plus 10k until the end of turn. If you have 3 or more locked cards, until the end of battle, your opponent cannot call Sentinels from hand to the Guardian Circle. So this is the reason why you want, in my opinion, to have 3 locked cards. Because you get a buttload of power, you superior call 2 new units in the front row, so you get still 5 attacks off. But on top of that, you have a massive Ashlei that comes with the Sentinel Guard Restrict, which essentially becomes a Chronojet Dragon with little too much setup required. Yes, you need 6 soul, but let's be honest, that's not a tall order to ask for the Dual Knight engine. Now, you might think to yourself, how much value is it in comparison to Salome? Because Salome is a massive Vanguard unit that can restand with extra drive checks, that doesn't lose drive checks, that also can supply multi-tags. Whereas this, yes, it generates multi-tags, but it doesn't really give you that extra Vanguard attack, but it does give you a Vanguard with a Sentinel Guard restrict. Now, the thing is, there are these restanding Vanguard and a massive Vanguard with a Sentinel Guard restrict are useful for different use cases. If you know your opponent has like 2 PGs, maybe a restanding Vanguard won't cut it. And then something like Ashlei could definitely be worth it, because if you know your opponent has like cards that don't work, like they have multiple Sentinels, and they cannot hard guard like a massive beater, then this could be really, really good. Or you know that your opponent doesn't have any PGs, but you know they cannot really guard like massive numbers. This could also be very beneficial, because keep in mind, Ashlei, if you're right on top of a Salome, gets extra 10k power of Salome's skills. Also get an extra drive check, so you have a triple drive Vanguard that comes with the Sentinel Guard restrict. If you have 3 luck cards, plus the 2 force markers, plus the 10k of Salome, that's an additional 60k power. So your Ashlei is gonna be 73k triple drive with Sentinel Guard restrict. And then if you have the grade 2, the new grade 2, in a column next to it, that means that grade 2 will also be 73k, because for 1 counterblast you can copy the power. So you can have like massive attacks, and because Ashlei Reverse allows you to search your deck, you can just search those grade 2s, slam to the front row, and essentially have 3 attacks that all comes with 73k attacks numbers, and the Vanguard is gonna be with the Sentinel Guard restrict. Yes, they have 2 PGs that can block the rear guards, but if you know they don't have 2 PGs, this could be a literal kill turn. And again, you might think to yourself, well, why not just stick on Salome in that instance? The main difference between Salome and this card is that Salome requires you to have a field. And it requires you to have Dual Knights in your hand to make it worth it. Because Salome requires you to call cards from your hand with Dual Knight's name on top of cards already present in the field. Whereas Ashlei, the only thing Ashlei wants you to have is essentially 1 card. That's it. So there's definitely going to be scenarios where Salome is going to be better than Ashlei Reverse, but there's also going to be scenarios where Ashlei Reverse is going to be better than Salome. So I think these 2 cards together are like a perfect harmony of what the deck wants to be. And then you can add like an extra couple of the original Dual Knight Ashlei to have some more rearguard shenanigans that can achieve even more multi-attack on top of everything that you're doing. So overall, Ashlei Reverse, a pretty damn spicy card that is really solid for the Dual Knight archetype. And on top of that, this could be like a nice send-off for the archetype for V Premium, that we're gonna move away from Dual Knights, because this is the first Dual Knight card without the break right effect. So there's no extra additional effect if you ride on top of her like any of the other Dual Knights. So this could be like the pinnacle of the archetype, and that's about it. And honestly, I wouldn't be complaining, because this is a lot of very nice spicy cards and spicy support cards for Dual Knight, and it's looking pretty damn spicy. And in terms of the reprints for Dual Knights, it's very obvious we're gonna reprint the original support wave of Dual Knights, which is of course the original Ashlei, Laylee, as well as Moravitas. Now in Moravita's case, she might be replaced by the new grade 1, depending on how much deck space you have, but overall a pretty solid lineup to have. And with that said, that's about everything that we have today. Let me know in the comments down below what you guys think of the new Dragonbone Goju, as well as the new Epic Buster. Do you think Goku isn't really that interesting and pretty much underwhelming? Or do you think like that Epic Buster is actually a lot better than I give credit to, and I'm not seeing the intricate synergies that I might not know as a non-Nova Grappler main? And also, what do you think about the new Dual Knight support? Do you think this is a great addition to the archetype? Do you think this doesn't really change all too much? And do you think this is gonna be the last supporter for Dual Knight moving forward? Or do you think there's even more on the horizon? Let me know all your thoughts in the comment section down below. As always, this video has been brought to you by our lovely patrons over at patreon.com/FrankenInsider. You guys are amazing. If you do want to support the channel or everything that's happening on the channel, you can simply go to patreon.com/FrankenInsider and become a patron today. But with that said, I've been Mr. Time Leap, and I see you guys in the next one!